Boldwood presents One Down, written by Diana Wilkinson, and read by Ben Higgins and Rose Robinson. The moral right of the author has been asserted. This performance is owned by Boldwood.
Prologue. It's been a long time coming, but May 3rd is finally here. I lean against the fence, count down from 10. I whisper in a soothing rhythm. 10, 9, 8, 7. It'll take me 10 seconds to reach the front. That's how long it takes. I look down. The pitted driveway, its yawning chasms of neglect, tells me off. Slovenly reproof of my disinterest. A rampaging weed, thick, lush, with sharply pointed talons, taunts with a strangulated grip as it waves at me through a crack. I yank it out, fling it aside, but not before a prickly coating sears my skin and leaves an angry rash across my hand. My eyes squeeze against the pleasant pain. I pick my way across the rotting asphalt. Silver birch, a once majestic home, towers above me. Its carcass has been greedily devoured, deboned by filthy maggots. Beneath the darkened porch, I catch my breath, then nudge the door ajar, flinching as it creaks a rusty welcome. A vein pulses in my neck. I exhale heavily, the sound like the hiss of air from a deflating tire, and step inside. A slather of sweat coats my neck, my forehead, and I wipe a palm across my brow before I start a slow ascent. The stairs creak. They're familiar. The fourth and sixth risers groaning in irritation despite my attempts at stealth. My damp fingers slide along the wooden rail as I creep upwards. I pause halfway, as my insides rumble with increasing wrath. Volcanic fury builds as mad compulsions knock back the measured rationale. A few more steps, and I'm on the landing, the holding cell between flats B and C. The airless space suffocates my thoughts, and my body tenses as I turn the key. The unoiled hinges groan. Inside the flat, the solemn silence of the stairwell fades, replaced by scuffle noises. Agitated movement, puffs of rasping breath. I follow the sounds with gentle tread, and through a crack in the bedroom door, take in the scene. All as I hoped. It's hard not to smile. Blood spatters appear as aftershocks and dot my skin and clothes like measles. I fall backwards as her eyes spring open on hearing the crack. I gulp, swallow down the nausea, and put a hand across my mouth. My tongue has a bitter tang, a metallic taste. But I keep my eyes locked on hers. I think she's trying to speak. I lean closer. "What's that?" I ask. She giggles, in conspiratorial mirth, and replies, "What's the noise?" She doesn't scream, although I wonder why. The crack was like a crash of thunder. I'd expect a reflex yelp at least. But she slips away into unconsciousness and thanks me with her glassy eyes. It's gratitude enough. Claret-coloured plasma seeps like soft-boiled yolk across the bedding, an Ebola flow of death. It's quite startling. I freeze when I hear a phone, but puff out my lips, release the air when I remember it's the timer on my mobile. 10 minutes is up. I need to move, get out before the cavalry arrives. I spin, check behind me. Boo! I jump. But there's no one there. I check out the scene, the final curtain. It was a convincing script if I say so myself, and the players have more than lived up to expectations. But I've one more thing to do before I tidy up. Clean my hands and wash my face. I glance down at my black top, smug at the forward planning, its darkness mingling with the bloodied scarlet hues. I gently unfold her fragile fingers, rigid to the touch, and thread the implement inside them. It'll be enough. Shakespeare at his best. I move away, and by the door unlace my trainers, peel off my socks, and slip them in a bag. My feet are cold, numb, like climbers' feet, but the pallid whiteness is clean, pure, no trace of guilt. I skip lightly back down the stairs. In the hall I prick my ears, picking up a restless spirit. I hear ghosts laughing through the flimsy walls, their skeletal fingers beckoning. It takes a second to realise the gentle hum is mine. Outside I pull out my phone, check the time, look heavenwards. Thank God it's all over. My bare feet weave left and right back the way I came, playing dodge with the thorny weeds that laugh through the fissures. They'll not catch me out again. Up against the fence, I take out my socks and shoes and prepare to drive away. Once out on Brewer's Hill, I don't look back.
Sunday, May the 3rd. Chapter 1. Amanda. A metal bundle of twigs for a tree. 6-5. I'm fast, flipping across the cryptic crossword puzzle grid, my terror ratcheting up with each conundrum. The clues could be random, a sneaky theme weaved through the teasers like fine thread in tapestry, delicate, subtly telling a mystifying tale. Perhaps it's some smart-ass cruciverbalist, a crossword puzzle setter, new on board with worth to prove. Someone I've never met. But I know that's not true. Sweat globules bobble round my neck, pale beads of panic. They tell me otherwise. Who am I trying to kid? I'm the target of an online stalker, a word troll maniac who's been methodically toying with my sanity for 6 months now, give or take. My bare feet slap against the hardwood floor as I get up and circle the lounge. By the window, my gaze dips from the London skyline with its smoky, early-morning outline to the dense communal undergrowth below. A rampaging, weed-infested wilderness is steadily advancing, a determined army, towards the fortifications of Flat A, soon to cover the walls like a serial killer's lair, the rendered surfaces invisible to the naked eye. My arms circle my upper body, a futile hug of comfort, until a shiver pulls me round and I slump back into the chair, biro poised and chattering against my teeth. Paranoia grips with every new clue. The Christmas Day giant crossword puzzle is full of seasonally themed clues and answers. Mince pies, crackers, plum pudding, Noel, stuffing and cranberry jelly. Words evoking festive magic with simplistic formula. But for one day only. Perhaps today, the subject is death. Each morning, as I sip my coffee, from the lofty heights of Flat C, Silver Birch, I wait for my neighbour to wake up. Get ready for work. On autopilot, I listen for movement beneath the floorboards, of Flat B coming to life. But today, there is no welcoming death rattle from the pipes. The daily violence that shakes the building like the precursor to a seismic earthquake and heralds my neighbour's shower time is eerily missing. Agavs is my neighbour. His real name is Edward Heath, Teddy to his friends, but mine and Nathan's nickname for the guy in Flat B will forever stick. Nathan, my estranged husband, came up with a whole host of belittling nicknames for our handsome neighbour, who is now my lover. But my choice of sobriquet finally won the day. Today the silence screams, a loud reminder of my absent lover who has gone away for the weekend. I miss the juddering crescendo of metal, which then crashes to a halt as the power shower springs into action and spikes the frustrated fantasies which grip my thoughts daily. I imagine Agav's tanned and rippling biceps as I listen to the cascading deluge. But today, the comforting sounds of life are absent, replaced by the morgue-like atmosphere and a biting fear. I peek at the crossword puzzle through slit eyes and carry on, my morning's sourdough breath gaining strength as my gut gurgles and churns. On my scribble pad, I scrawl, checking, reading through my thoughts as I study the clues, the tiny equations of perfection. Keep a pad close. Don't deface the newspaper. That's sacrilege. Nathan's voice would join me in our speed of calculation. Solving the daily puzzle became a gladiatorial battle between us, fought to the bitter end. But now, I face the clues alone. So far today, each clue is linked to death and menace. And to me. The bare walls echo my laugh, a nervy noise of disbelief as the sound, tinged with mania, bounces back at me. Alcohol does that, Manda. It feeds paranoia. Nathan would admonish me with holy certainty that my psychosis was down to drink. The clues have Nathan's stamp all over them. Dark humour laced with payback. I stare at the words, swivelling the pad on the glass-top table, and swallow the answers. They're all correct. No ambiguity possible. But I can't be positive he is today's setter. The anonymous puzzle setters at the London Echo newspaper are famous in a Banksy way, enigmatic, invisible yet brilliant in their cryptic clue construction. If the setter today for the newspaper is Adnam, my nickname, Manda, backwards, a phony pseudonym, I know him only too well. My husband. But I'm not certain it is him. A ghost seems to be communicating through the words, and perhaps it's someone else. It could be anyone. Maybe someone I've never even met. I go back to the first clue. The other clues so far might just be random, imagined menace. That's how the police would see it, if the worst happens. No one would believe me. Delusions of an adult mind. But a metal bundle of twigs for a tree, 6'5", is specific. My eyes flick towards the window. A light breeze is tickling the drooping branches and heart-shaped leaves of the tree outside, which stands sentry in our front garden. A rich green canopy is slowly growing back after the winter frosts. It covers the light, silvery bark which shimmers in the sunlight. The clue is easy to solve. A metal, 6 letters, is silver. Birch is another name for a bundle of twigs. The whole relates to a tree. The answer is silver birch. It comes easily, because I remember me and Nathan toying with a possible clue for the name of our building when we moved in. He told me that birching had been used as punishment in schools and prisons up until the mid-19th century. Bundles of twigs were secured and used to punish schoolboys and prisoners on their bare buttocks. I can hear Nathan's knowledgeable pronouncement in my head. Outside of work and setting puzzles for a living, his hobby is constructing cryptic clues for names. People's names, place names, names of foods, countries, animals, and names of trees and plants. The day we moved in, silver birch was already tagged with possibilities. The next few clues take me longer to solve, until I sense the theme. My brain speeds up, soon racing headlong like a runaway train. 2 fools, 1 country for murder. 13. The word murder jumps out before I get the answer. Another word for fool is ass. 2 fools could be ass followed by another ass. One is often denoted by the single letter I, and another word for country could be nation. Murder is the whole thing, and assassination is the answer. Nathan enjoyed teaching me, imparting knowledge like a schoolmaster hungry for adulation. That's who he was. One bit of the clue relates to the whole thing, like in a quick crossword puzzle. The next section, often following a comma, gives you clues as to how to make certain you have the right answer. Nathan was patient, keen to prize me from the bottle that sang with heady promises and nearly cost my life. But the images of death are never far away. I carry on, my mind twisting this way and that, as my eyes fixate on the grid. Silver birch is where I live. Can assassination be just another random answer? Zigzag sparks zap around the edges of my vision and warn of a building migraine. I'm certain that the clues are linked and sending me a threat. Chapter 2. Amanda. If I lived in an airy, open-plan apartment with sleek lines and marble tiles and wrap-around balconies framed by shining glass, the silence surely wouldn't be as terrifying. But trapped inside silver birch, with its solid masonry shell, I feel the waft of vengeful ghosts passing through the walls. Silver birch, the name given to the property that houses 3 separate flats, reminds me of Cerberus, the hound of Hades, whose 3 monstrous heads guard the gates of the underworld to prevent the dead from leaving. The trio of snarling properties within silver birch share one heart, with its tangle of clogged-up arteries that filter amenities through the robust but cracking torso. Our garden is the serpent tail that swishes from the creature's thunder thighs. A hissing mesh of weeds, thorns, and wild abandon that chokes the healthy growth. I imagine our majestic property in its infancy before it was christened with the name of the burgeoning tree that dominates the front. Built over 100 years ago for the landed gentry, if rumour is to be believed, the structure has grand but asymmetric form. A central staircase once linked 3 sprawling levels. It reared up on the left-hand side of the main entrance, winding its way up several floors, before developers, sometime in the 70s, had it truncated on the landing shared today by Flats B and C. Inside Flat C, the narrow stairs creak on upwards towards a skylight. Sun beams through by day, stars twinkle by night, and when the heavens open, rain seeps through the joints. This is our flat. The flat that belongs to my husband, Nathan, and me. Flat B was carved out into an eclectic mix of shapes and sunk into the underbelly of Flat C, which became its loftier neighbour. The conversion into 3 flats was higgledy-piggledy, to say the least. Cracks, crevices, and crooked edges abound, and in one corner of our bathroom is a creaking floorboard, so loosely fitted that I can slip it aside and peek through a tiny gap into the kitchen of Flat B, which lies directly underneath. From our elevated skyline, we look out over the heady sights of London, but our neighbour's view from the flat below is of the new builds across the road. The entrance to Flat A is on ground floor level and incorporates a basement and musty cellar. With its own front door and more than generous floor space, it has potential. That was Nathan's word for the dungeon whose view is stifled by the dankness of suffocating foliage and overhanging branches. Nathan scoffed and said the chaotic layout of the flat conversions reminded him of childhood Lego. blocks locked together without form or aesthetic. Although I fell in love with our flat the moment I stepped over the threshold, it was the shared exterior of silver birch, with its imposing facade and towering dimensions, that sealed the deal. In the centre of the small, communal front garden towers the Betula pendula, the scientific name which Nathan loved to spout when describing the grand tree, the grandeur of the elegant drooping branches, heart-shaped leaves, and diamond fissures at odds with the root's destructive properties, which buckle unevenly underfoot, like ancient burial mounds, creeping ever closer to the foundations. The first day I came to look around, to compare reality with the online airbrushed photos, it was the luscious summer foliage on the striking centrepiece, with its silken adornments of midsummer magic, that swept away any doubts. There was no hint of the barren, crisp white bark, like tissue paper, which shivers in winter, void of leaves and life, or of its gnarled and knobbled arthritic branches. Today, after a long, hard winter, the silver birch is only slowly coming back to life. When Nathan began his quest to save my soul, he forgot. Forgot that one heart, one soul, can't be divided into three. The flimsy partitioning of paper-thin walls and shared communicating echoes saved me from certain death. Chapter 3. Amanda. I've been up since dawn, and my body is exhausted, my limbs still entwined with leaden slumber. But my mind whizzes with alertness, gripped by the macabre. It's hard to shake the nightmares, which reach hellish depths in the dead of night. Each morning, I somehow shake myself awake and flick the lamp, flooding the room with light. Mindful vigilance knocks the ghouls aside, although I know they're patient, waiting in the wings. I try to calm my breathing, stem the panic. I move to carry on with the puzzle. The morbid theme is thickening, and I'm almost scared to look. I crave the daily rap against my door. Yoo-hoo! Have a great day. Each morning, Agav's deep, throaty fog schmoozes through the wood before he marches down the staircase, size 12 brogues smacking on the risers. The ridiculousness of early waking paranoia gets momentarily squashed by his steady tread. But today, a slam, a sudden crack of wood against a doorframe bangs against the silence and shocks me rigid. Tori, the lady who owns Flat A on the ground floor, has just left the building. With Agav's in Brighton visiting his mother, I'm now totally alone, trapped inside silver birch. Old Bob finds amusement at home, but not here, presumably. 14. The answer takes me 2 minutes, no more. Slaughterhouse. The working out was easy. Nathan taught me well. Single letters can, in cryptic puzzle speak, relate to certain things. You'll get to learn them. S can be used to mean old shilling, as in old Bob. Nathan went through letters, one by one, trying to hold my waning concentration. As I study the clue, his words come back to me. Old Bob, S, finds amusement, laughter, at home, house, but not here, presumably. The next 2 clues make things even worse. They need little reasoning, and I've seen them both before. Accelerator or choke, 8. I fill in throttle. Undertaking final tax demand, 5, 6. Death duties. It's now 11:10. I know coffee isn't the best idea, but I crave another caffeine fix. I've been refilling my mug all morning. It's a comfort thing, my lively daytime companion. Nathan worried that caffeine overdose was likely, an alternative addiction in place of alcohol. But I laughed, assuring him my liver was in better hands. I take my empty mug through to the kitchen. The tiny room feels safe, a stuffy space with a broken fan that Nathan never fixed. It's stacked with wholesome foods, herbal teas, and full-strength coffee, which keep me company when loneliness bares its teeth. I slump back against the sink and will the hissing coffee machine, with its bubbly effervescence, to quell my fears. But as I skulk back to the lounge, gripping the hot drink with shaking hands, the dread returns. Chapter 4. Amanda. There's one final section of the grid to solve, bottom right-hand quartile. I tap my pen above the clues, push my mug aside, and let my loopy scrawl do the thinking. Soon, there are only 5 clues left, but the first one needs no thought. A male attorney for the girl. 6. I recognise the clue as the one Nathan came up with when we first met, in Shoreditch. The Boatyard pub. "I'm your male attorney," he announced after I told him my name. His wolfish grin and wicked eyes glinted wild reflection as he handed me the wine. "Whatever," I roared at the weirdo who would become my husband. "My name, Amanda," he explained, after telling me he was a cruciverbalist, a crossword-setter, could be broken down. "A man is the same as a male," he said, writing on a beer mat in nursery letters, large and clear, with a thick black pen. "Attorney in the US is a DA, an abbreviation for a district attorney." "I know that," I scoffed, amazed that I was telling the truth. Too many US crime dramas. "Put it all together, what do you get?" "Duh." I wasn't quite there yet, and too tipsy to really take it in. But he leant across and brushed my cheek with generous lips and whispered the one word. "Amanda." It was afterwards that he promised he would forever be my male attorney for the girl. 4 clues to go. Ice cream dessert, we hear, for the Sabbath. 6. Sabbath relates to the whole answer. It's easy. Sunday is the answer. We hear is a sound-alike pointer. The answer sounds like an ice cream dessert. Sunday. 3 to go. It's 11:30. I'm desperate to finish and get out of the flat. Breathe again, but I'm not prepared for what's coming. If I'd known, I'd have left much sooner. Japanese play at the scheduled hour. 12. 8. It takes me 10 minutes to work this one out. Noontime was easy to guess at as relating to 12, as in o'clock, but the rest needs Google help to be sure this is the right answer. My damp fingers slither over the keyboard. No theatre, also spelt N-O, is a traditional Japanese theatrical form, one of the oldest in the world. If no is linked to on time, at the scheduled hour, the answer is noontime. 2 clues left. When I solve the penultimate clue, my chest constricts, my vision blurs. Tim Hardy makes a date. 3-5. Makes, an anagram pointer, tells me what to do, and the only anagram I can get with the letters in Tim Hardy is May 3rd. A weird flood of relief washes over me, and I let out a shaky laugh. Today is the 2nd of May, not May 3rd, as in the clue. I pick up my mobile, check the date. But I'm wrong. No. No, today is the 3rd. The final clue, the answer to which runs along the very bottom right-hand line of the grid, is 7 letters long. It's at the end, which is apt. Commendation for being late. 7. It takes a further 3 minutes to solve. Late, as in dead. A commendation for the dead is an epitaph, a short text inscribed on a tombstone. The answer is epitaph. The list of answers is a story told in shorthand. It's a story for me. A story to give me nightmares. I know it's meant for me because who else could it be for? Amanda, silver birch, noontime, May 3rd, Sunday. Assassination. Slaughterhouse, throttle, death duties. Epitaph. My pen slips to the floor and my heart speeds up, trying to catch my brain, the coffee firing my pulse and thoughts round as if negotiating a serpentine chicane. Oh my God. Oh my God. I double-check the time, the date. It's the 3rd of May. And it's a Sunday. Sweat blinds my vision as I hurry to the door. I jiggle the safety chain, secure it in place, reach up and bend down to re-bolt the bars top and bottom, and press an eye to the glass viewer. The landing is empty. It's now 11:50. 10 minutes to midday. I've no idea what to do, who to call or where to go. Who'd believe me, anyway? I don't want a Garv's running scared. It's 2 early days in our relationship, and he'd think I was crazy. Suddenly, I freeze. There's a knock at the door. I don't move, too scared to breathe or make a noise. Amanda? Are you in there? It's only me. A second rap beats harder, more persistent. Relief catapults me to the door. I peek through the spy hole, yank back the chain, undo the bolts and rip it open. Oh my God, am I glad to see you. Come in, come in. Once we're back inside, I slam the door shut behind us.
3 years previously. Chapter 5. Nathan. Nathan, a man of words and a crossword-setter by trade, succumbed to numbered lists, which he used to organise his life. He woke with purpose, his tasks numerically ordered before the day began, a meaningful modus operandi to help him face the hours ahead. Until Amanda came into his life and her chaos ripped his plans and world apart. Each morning, an urgent to-do list greeted him, hand-drawn emojis scribbled on the sheet, silent sign language companions. During breaks from puzzle setting, he'd perfect emoji drawing and toy with emoticon construction using signs and punctuation marks. On his bullet-pointed schedule, a smiling emoji face was linked with pleasant tasks, a jog, a pint with Joseph, his best friend, and hopefully one day his best man. A takeaway supper. Angry red emojis, with downturned mouths, explosive cheeks, got knitted with unpleasant jobs, blocks drains, car repairs. Encroaching damp patches that craved attention. He saved the smiling, big-teeth grins for the rare events he'd relish with mild anticipation. A blind date, a theatre trip. But the first time he used a love heart emoji was after that fateful day in 2018, 3 years ago, almost to the hour. After they were married, Amanda's derision challenged these well-worn habits. "You must be joking," she would snarl when he waved his weekend list. "Can't we just go with the flow? Bin the bloody schedule." "If we go with your flow, nothing will ever get done. Why not drop a wish list instead and plan something exciting?" Her face would pop up from below the duvet, flushed from slumber and too much wine. And in the early days of marriage, Nathan would give in. Back then, he would have done anything to keep Amanda happy. He first encountered the chaos one late spring morning, when a sunbeam grinned through his bedroom window, heralding the arrival of an early summer heatwave, and encouraged a rare moment of procrastination and a minor touch of madness. Nathan drew a sunny face with 6 pointy spikes at the bottom of his list, and with cautious abandon, he made a snap decision. With unaccustomed impulsiveness, he left the flat, foregoing his tasks, and hopped on the tube to central London. He had no idea what lay ahead and how his life was about to change. An hour later, he was standing to one side of a queue that snaked around the entrance to the London Eye, indecisive about whether to buy a ticket and climb on board. He was on the verge of passing, encouraged by the blasts of shellfire laughter that came from the selfie-snapping tourists and the sweaty, surging crowds, planning instead a lazy lunch. When he spotted the woman who was to become his wife, the redhead reeling in his direction. If not love at first sight, it was indeed a heady fascination. Her flaming lion's mane swirled across bare shoulders, a light jumper hanging loosely over one arm. Sharp, pointy heels craved attention as they crackled across the pavement. She veered from side to side, and when her ankle buckled on a wonky slab, her burly suited companion grabbed her arm and hoisted her upright. The guy, dressed in a slim-fit suit, its cheap sheen glinting like a sheet of polished glass, laughed in a forced explosion of exaggerated merriment. She brushed him aside, swishing hair off her forehead with scarlet-glossed fingertips, and tripped unsteadily ahead. Nathan couldn't look away. He downed the Diet Coke he had been holding, crushed the empty can, and chucked it in a bin. As the couple merged with the queue, he wandered over and slipped in behind. The thing he remembered most clearly about Amanda was her voice, the highs and lows of emotion, the giggling, the whispering. It wasn't posh, and there was a dearth of accent, colloquialism. From her colouring, he assumed she might be Celtic, Scots perhaps, or maybe Irish. But from a few inches away, all he heard was the flirtatious lilt, the energy, the throaty timbre of suggestion. Once the doors closed on the air-conditioned pod, it became a slow, cantilevered ascent above the Thames. Nathan counted 15 people in the egg-shaped capsule. He nestled himself in between a group of Japanese sightseers. He took his sunglasses off the top of his head, and together with a baseball cap, blocked out the glare from the sun which dazzled through the glass. 0.6 miles per hour. That's the speed the capsule moved. He gripped the leaflet between his hands, rereading the words. From its 443 feet above the ground, the London Eye is the 4th largest Ferris wheel in the world. More than 3.5 million people use the Eye every year. But on that late spring afternoon, Nathan was intrigued by one thing only: the lady with the flaming red hair. 5 minutes in, something startling happened. The fiery beauty slithered like a rag doll towards the floor, her back against the metal surround. Her breathing came in laboured gasps. "Amanda, are you okay?" Her companion hunkered down, his cheeks reddening as he spoke in muffled tones. The woman clasped her head between shaky hands. Nathan watched as her hair fell like silken curtains across her face. He slid the rucksack off his back, unzipped the top, and lifted out a paper bag, which he upended, pouring the sticky sweet contents directly back into the holdall. Then he moved towards the couple. "Here, this might help. Just put it over your mouth and breathe normally." Nathan spoke directly to the woman, but her companion took the bag, fiddled with the paper before passing it on. "Thanks," the guy said, with a mere tick of acknowledgement. "You'll be fine. Inhale slowly, count out as you exhale." Nathan persevered, and nudged closer until his body was centimetres from the woman's. "Are you claustrophobic?" he asked, his voice soft, gentle, as he dared to lay fingers on her bare arm. She nodded, keeping her eyes closed as she rocked from side to side. When the bag was secured over her lips, Nathan moved back across the pod. After some minutes, she staggered to her feet, gentle sobs hiccuping from her glossed lips. Under the brim of his cap, Nathan watched the man shove thick hands into his trouser pockets and step back from the lady, taking in the view outside instead. It was then that Nathan made assumptions. That's what he did. He watched, weighed things up, and made assumptions. The man was married, and he'd soon be making excuses about needing to get back to work. A busy afternoon. He'd call her, and then he'd skulk back to the security of his mundane life. Nathan could decode the smallest action, his observations picking up the merest nuance of deceit. When the doors reopened, the tiny band of trippers dispersed. Nathan hovered, and as the unlikely duo strolled away, he realized that not only was the woman claustrophobic, but she was also very drunk. He held up his phone, feigning the taking of a solo selfie, and caught the pair on camera. His stomach lurched, the short reel of video capturing the collision of pouting lips as the couple's bodies pressed together, in blatant view of milling crowds. Chapter 6. Nathan. After they left the London Eye, Nathan moseyed along behind the duo until a taxi suddenly drew alongside them and threw him off kilter. Fearing he'd lose them completely, he dithered between ceding defeat or waving down another cab. Such was his fascination for the redhead, he chose the second option and moved curbside to hail a ride. And as fate would have it, Amanda hopped into the taxi while Justin Blakemore, whose name Nathan would learn some 10 minutes later, slapped a palm against the shiny black door and waved the driver off. Even before the taxi merged with the thick, rumbling traffic, Justin was striding off with a renewed spring in his step. Before Nathan could hail another cab, follow Amanda, her cab had disappeared from view. Instead, he followed Justin. From a space of some 20 yards, he had to dip behind a tourist kiosk when Justin paused outside a tapas bar. Inside the eatery, a wooden counter ran along two sides of the peripheral dining area, the layout allowing Nathan to continue with a swiftly formulated plan. The tightly packed row of seating faced outwards and offered a stunning panorama across the Thames. The high-backed wooden stools, which discouraged loitering, offered five-star watching the world go by views of passers-by. Nathan hovered a minute before ambling in behind Justin, who, as luck would have it, sat down next to a second vacant stool. Nathan approached and tapped the empty seat. "Hi, is this free? Do you mind if I push in?" Nathan asked. "Sure." A flicker of recognition, and Justin stood up. From his 6-foot-plus frame, he gazed down at Nathan. "Hey, you're the guy from the Eye." Justin shook Nathan's hand, and with the other pulled out the adjacent stool. "Thanks. What's the food like? Any good?" Nathan plonked his rucksack on the floor and sat down. "I hope so. The menu looks okay, but I haven't been here before. It's not my usual stomping ground." "Me neither. You work locally?" Nathan set his cap on the counter and slipped his sunglasses into a plastic case, which he'd extracted from an inside pocket. "No, I work in Shoreditch, financial advisor. What about yourself?" Justin asked. Justin flipped the A4 menu card back and forth in his large hands. "Me? I work from home. I'm a crossword puzzle setter." He didn't use the word cruciverbalist because he didn't want to encourage the likely conversation that would follow and waste precious time discussing what he did for a living. He was keen to do the listening. "Really? Sounds interesting." But Justin's disinterest was palpable as he flicked his fingers towards a hovering waitress. "What's your poison? Beer? Wine? Fancy sharing a bottle or something?" "Sounds like a plan. Red wine would be good. Merlot, Malbec, you choose." Justin ordered food for them both, and as wine loosened the stranger's tongue, Nathan learnt some interesting facts. Nathan prided himself on being a good listener, having had a father who never let him talk and a mother who never stopped. At a young age, he learned that silence was the best way to glean information, and he'd mastered the art of nodding, smiling, and laughing on cue. Has your girlfriend gone home? Nasty things, panic attacks. Nathan sipped his drink, eyes locked on Justin's. Oh, Amanda? No, I didn't realise she was claustrophobic. She's just a friend, if you know what I mean. Justin grinned, a lopsided affair displaying an uneven incisor. I see. Friends with benefits. Nathan's lips upturned, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. You could say that. If I must be honest, I'm a happily married man. Nathan's hand jerked, and for an awful moment he thought he might chuck his wine in the prick's face. An hour later, the bills split two ways, and having swapped business cards, Nathan and Justin headed off in opposite directions. As he neared the tube, Nathan stopped and keyed in the name of the pub Justin had mentioned, the Boatyard in Shoreditch. Having drunk the lion's share of Malbec, Justin let slip, in the strictest of confidence, that every Friday night for the past 2 years he had met up with Amanda there, the pub a stone's throw from his office. She's good fun, likes her drink and more besides. Justin shouldn't have winked, because it helped Nathan make up his mind. He set to work, planning how to make sure Justin didn't turn up next Friday at 7 o'clock. For he intended to take his place. Chapter 7. Nathan. On Friday night the following week, Nathan arrived at the Boatyard pub. From inside the heavy oak-doored entrance, he watched Amanda swivel unsteadily on a bar stool before he inched forward and introduced himself properly. His future wife showed no recollection of having met him before, which was as he had surmised would be the case. When she had lain slumped on the capsule floor, she hadn't looked up, her one concern being to breathe more easily. If she did recognize him, his plan was to feign surprise at the amazing coincidence, but Amanda never linked him to the man with the paper bag, and Nathan never told her. And if Justin Blakemore had confided in Amanda about the tapas lunch with the random stranger, she never joined up the dots. Only Nathan knew the subterfuge that had gone into this fortuitous event. Nathan used his work phone, the one attached to his crossword-setting work, to put his plan in motion. At the London Echo daily newspaper, Nathan worked under the pseudonym of Hercules, a name he had chosen himself. All cruciverbalists, crossword setters, worked anonymously, but Nathan's choice of moniker meant his mental genius in the eyes of the puzzle enthusiasts would be coupled with the physical prowess of the mythical Greek god. Though no one was supposed to know who he was, he enjoyed the imagery of superhuman strength, bravery, and masculinity that added fascination to his intellectual brilliance. It was on Thursday, a week after his day in London, and the day before he turned up unexpectedly at the Boatyard pub, that Nathan, using his private Hercules phone, keyed in the mobile number of Justin Blakemore and attached the short video of his steamy clinch with Amanda. Nathan edited and cropped the clip, fading out the background so that Justin wouldn't link the footage with the sunny spring morning when they had all visited the London Eye. Nathan opted for a nighttime background with stars twinkling overhead, and only pressed send when he was happy with the result. He added a short, succinct message. Wouldn't your wife love to see this video? Keep away from Amanda or else. 5 minutes later, a reply bounced back. Who the fuck is this? It was then that Nathan switched off his phone.
3 months before May the 3rd. Chapter 8. Amanda. Chaperone shredded corset. 6. Chuffed like a puffed-up pigeon, a crumb in its beak, strutting its stuff. That was me, the first time I tackled a clue single-handedly, and won. My squiggly, flamboyant answer looked like effort. but I knew what I meant as I creased the paper in a victory clench. I've never mastered longhand, preferring the flit of my fingers over a keyboard. Fast and furious, that's me, and my fingers match my brain. My crazy chicken neck bobs back and forth as I solve anagrams at lightning speed. Escort. A chaperone. And anagram of corset. Easy peasy. The word shredded gave the clue that an anagram was involved. Fast is positive, but can we drop the furious? Nathan's voice, with its sage pronouncements, using words like Michelangelo wielded brushes, isn't far away. My husband's neatly clipped head, like a topiary TV set, is what I see every time I fill in the blanks of a crossword grid. Inside his skull, I imagine crisscross wiring that links up nerve endings as lexicographical data gets analysed and stored on a hard drive. He studies words the way an entomologist studies insects, dissecting phrases into the smallest possible components and always on the lookout for a rare species of word formation. But his calm, logical personality, sunny and precise, breaks down when assaulted by a crumpled newspaper. Square it off, neaten the corners. For Christ's sakes, eat your toast first and wipe your sticky fingers. World War III would break out if a circlet of honey ringed the clues, and each time I would imagine flashing red lights inside his cranium, warning of a logjam. Escort was the first clue I ever solved. Well, the first time I tackled the enigma code of the cryptic puzzle on my own. My disinterest in all things verbal was who I was. I was the numbers person in our marriage. Maths perfection, my way-to craft. I was a maths teacher. A career well suited to my numerical skills, along with a heady love of being around kids. But last Christmas at the sixth form party, I got in trouble. Disrespected boundaries with staff colleagues, being overly familiar and raucous. After one drink too many, my rock and roll routine got a warning from the head teacher. Nathan, the well-respected words man, was an obvious match. Our similarly wired brains collided in a galaxy of words and numbers. The symmetry of equations was soon likened to the neatness of the palindrome. Madam, I'm Adam. Go on, what's that? Madam, I'm Adam, I had asked. It's a palindrome. What the heck's a palindrome? My finger hovered over the remote control, impatient to get the evening started, the latest Netflix crime drama almost as magnetic as the alcohol. But not quite. A word or phrase which reads the same forwards and backwards. Look at the letters. Read it in reverse and then read it normally. Fun, isn't it? Nathan's eyes glistened. Cool. Back then, I didn't really understand Nathan, or even try to understand. My disinterest in my husband's work palpable, though I listened out of respect. So no one was more surprised than me when I finally got hooked on crosswords. In the early days of our relationship, my eyes preferred the TV screen as I channel hopped and poured out the wine, large medicinal goblets filled to the brim. Cheers, I'd purr, my lips lapping up the crisp, dry nectar. The alcohol made life seem much more interesting, coating our dull existence in glossy hues. But it soon became the poison that helped tear us apart. Although I won't take all the blame. By the time Nathan left, I had the drinking under control. Or so I thought. Chapter 9. Amanda. Today is a big day. I have a date, a challenge to myself. This evening, I'm going to have a single celebratory glass of wine to congratulate myself on my progress and for having come so far. This morning, I settle on the sofa early to do the crossword puzzle. I'm half expecting some hidden clues from Nathan as he started communicating and toying with me through the grids. I'm sure it's him. It's quite a novel approach, but to be honest, I'd rather he'd pick up the phone, talk to me after so long. I slowly settle, puff out pent-up air, and begin to read through the clues. My mind whizzes back and forth until I relax into a steady rhythm. Key state of America? 7. Country Stewart shortly revolutionized in song? 7. Spanish town where girl receives amazing tan? 8. Key state of America? 7 letters. It's on my wish list. The question mark hints at wordplay. Key is the hint. It's easy to solve. Florida. The Florida Keys, the string of tropical islands stretching about 120 miles off the southern tip of the US state of Florida. Nathan and I had planned a trip for the Christmas after he left. Palm trees, beaches, sun and sand for me. Fishing, snorkeling, scuba diving for him. Country Stewart shortly revolutionized in song? 7 letters. A country. My pen chatters between my teeth. Aha. Another place on our wish list. Skiing in the Alps, cable cars and après-ski. Cocktails for me, the slopes for Nathan. Stewart shortly revolutionized. Ost, shortly, indicates not all of the word Stewart going backwards. Revolutionized. In song. Rear. Air, the word for song in cryptic speak. The answer is Austria. The clues are like Nathan's hovering ghost. Slight irritation makes me shiver. I check the time. 10 minutes before I need to shower. I crank open the window, inhale the morning dampness, and let raindrops patter onto my upturned palm. I raise my eyes heavenwards towards the blackened sky, finding comfort in the darkness for a few moments before I sit down again. Spanish town where girl receives amazing tan? 8. I fill in Alicante straight away. Spanish town is the whole answer. The girl referred to in the clue is Alice. The letters encasing an anagram of tan. The word amazing hints at an anagram. Ant is received in the middle of the girl's name. Alicante. I don't need to solve the clue. The place-themed puzzle is made up of Nathan's and my travel wish list. He's toying with me from goodness knows where. Part of me is pleased he won't let go. Another incensed that I can't get hold of him and that he's blocked me from making contact. You've been officially ghosted, my girlfriend Cheryl tells me, relieved that my husband has disappeared. She never felt easy in Nathan's company, and now she's gone, she phones occasionally to see how I'm getting on. She was my good time friend. Bars and nightclubs are go-to places. But I keep my distance, scared of her unhealthy influence. Nathan was right in that regard. I need to keep company with sober people. As I finish off the puzzle, I wonder if Nathan is taunting me with memories for a reason. Maybe he's ready to meet up, softening after all the time apart. But it's all a bit too vague, a bit too random, and to be honest, a bit too freaky. Also, a bit too late. Chapter 10. Amanda. The clock ticks with relentless precision, the gentle rhythmical march towards 6 o'clock becoming a crescendo of insistence as I stare at the bottle. It's teasing me to be its friend, to forget the enemy within. Joseph, my sponsor, the guy with the Jesus locks and thonged sandals, who is tasked with guiding me through my AA recovery program, proffers daily sober suggestions, which I scribble on a fresh sheet of paper, ripped from an A4 pad. He texts me every morning with little survival tips. I've been doing it for the last 4 months since Nathan moved out, taking with him my life support. I used to sit with Nathan, plan the day and learn to take no risks. But now my help comes from a distance, though from a guy only 10 minutes round the corner. Joseph is a religious zealot where diet is concerned. He spouts the theory the body is a temple with monotonous holiness and regularity. By omission, I lie about the chilled chocolate bars, nodding in rapt assent at his suggestion to eat 5 pieces of fruit and veg a day, as per his gift of the magnetic, healthy eating chart stuck to the fridge. Each morning, the oatmeal muesli with its dried papaya and bowel-shifting dates stares at me like a wrestling titan, battering my feeble willpower into submission. Today is day 1 in the 2nd stage of my recovery plan. I must admit this 2nd stage approach was my idea. I've been feeling confident in my progress, so much so that Joseph has reluctantly agreed that it's worth a try. But he's far from happy. He battles my stubborn confidence that I can beat the alcohol at its own game, and my belief that I'm a winner, a conqueror of all tasks. Enjoying a glass or two, what's the harm in that? Still battles the tagline of addiction. Whatever. He shrugged, resigned to allowing me a one-time attempt. Today's the day. The clock ticks through the minutes. 5:51, 5:53, 5:56, 5:59. And, hey presto, it's all okay. I can pour a glass. Just one, mind, to help me climb the mountain that others call the evening. 6:05 p.m, and a self-congratulatory smugness pats me on the back for having sat it out an extra 5 minutes. I whoop at my success, presenting the glass trophy with its